What's going on, everyone? I hope you're having a great day. Jeremy here from The Quartering with a bit of an update on the CD Projekt Red situation. Now, I backed out a little bit. Some people said it was a little too close and personal when I zoomed in too much, so I'm working on that, working on arranging my set a little bit more, so you'll see some changes coming through there. If you followed yesterday's videos, you'll see that CD Projekt Red, specifically their Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter account, dared to make a joke. To make a joke like an attack helicopter joke. A joke that is about the equivalent of a dad joke on the internet these days. Well, of course, you know that the social justice hate mob needs blood in this particular case. They were offended, therefore somebody needs to pay. Now, CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077 issued a terse apology. Basically, hey, sorry you were offended. I guess. I was really hoping that they wouldn't say anything at all. But things developed throughout the day. One being that this employee eventually was doxxed, and we're going to go through that. And several developers, employees at CD Projekt Red reached out to me. So I'm going to share some of what my anonymous sources shared with me, and we're going to hopefully teach CD Projekt Red a little bit about how the internet works. So the first thing I want to point out is, dear CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077, we are trying to tell you that these people that are outraged for a living online do not buy your games. And here, Ian Miles Chong, friend of the channel, showed a couple different scenarios where we had Panic at the Discourse. Amazing how typing an assume your gender joke has completely changed the people who will buy Cyberpunk 2077 from cool queer people to nerds who will buy it to own the libs in a matter of minutes. Side note, if I had to choose between selling a product, I'm generally going to just pick the larger group of people that want to buy it, the more profitable one. And, nothing against queer folks, but they are definitely in the minority in terms of people that can buy an item. So if I had to choose between both, nothing personal, but I prefer to sell 20 million copies as opposed to 8,000 or 15,000 copies. And of course, they replied later, joke's on you, I don't play games. Well, imagine my shock. Here's another one. Rip this game. Pre-order canceled, edgelords. Full transparency, I didn't pre-order 2077, but she did this torpedo hype for a bunch of us, hoping for a big video game that might finally embrace the possibilities for bodily autonomy and expression in the genre. Okay, again, you don't play games. You weren't their customer anyway. Look at, can you come in? Like, can you come in close here? Come in close, folks at CD Projekt Red. This is what we're talking about. Yes, I'm sure there are a few customers that were a little salty. I would be extraordinarily surprised if they made a purchase decision based on that tweet. Okay. In fact, if they do, I'll buy a copy in their name. These people don't buy your games. They just want to be mad online. We talked about all these outlets writing smear pieces about you. Places like Polygon, Kotaku, they don't sell games either. Passionate gamers sell games, all right? So you just keep doing you. Now, as the day went on, we saw the folks in the Reset Era forum, which is basically a freak-out fest for the perpetually offended, doxed the employee at CD Projekt Red over the tweet. Again, these are the same, and Brandon's words, not mine. These are the same regressive losers that kept saying all the Google gobblers were cis white male quadruple Hitlers. You might say, well, do you have a source on that? Do you have a source on that? Yes, I do. Now, I'm not going to link to the archive. Well, maybe we can look at some of the archive. I mean, it's 37. It's probably 50 pages deep now. I don't want to go into the thread and mistakenly show their information. But I have confirmed with my insiders at CD Projekt Red some bits of information. So here's Reset Era doxing the very CD Projekt Red employee who put up the "Did you assume my gender" tweet. Now feminists in the video game media like Austin Walker will use these very docs to force CD Projekt Red into firing that person. And again, this is why you never apologize. Now, I hope that employee doesn't get too inundated. I checked out their Twitter account and stuff like that. It seems like it's pretty quiet, so that's good. Now, many of my viewers will already know that you just never apologize. It's never good enough. The social justice outrage mob will bully you into an apology because it's not about an apology. It's about control. Please, CD Projekt Red, hear these words. You don't have to take my word for it. You can look at the thousands of examples. In fact, you can look at your own example from yesterday when you issued an apology and nobody was satisfied, right? The same people are like, this apology is not good enough. We want a better apology. You'll also note that in the video yesterday, I felt confident in saying that I would hear, I've got to pull up a couple emails here. I would hear from insiders. This always happens every time I defend a game developer because these PC decisions are not made by the employees. They're made by one or two people at the top. This is why I hate having to basically include the company, paint the company in a bad light because some HR person told them that they had to do it. When I went through this with a variety of game developers over this year, I've always had insiders reach out. And this time was no different. And several people from CD Projekt Red reach out to me. And what did they say? Now, of course, you're going to have to trust that I did my due diligence. You're going to have to look at the body of my work and see that I haven't led you astray and I've always had good sources. The minute I ever have a bad source, I will tell you. But I did my due diligence here, and I do believe this particular email is coming from an employee. The other email is, I think, as well, but it's a little too specific, so I can't really share it because I don't want that person to get identified inside the building. But a lot of you asked, like, well, when this whole story first broke, people said, CD Projekt Red's not going to respond to this. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. And I was skeptical. And they did respond. Now, they didn't, have this full, like, please forgive us response. But let's see what one of their employees said. Hey, man, just wanted to let you know a bunch of people at CDP are well aware of the bad moves and moronic apology on Twitter yesterday. If you want proof, type my name here or this or this. Please don't give up my name. I won't. There are plenty of people in every studio that are clued in to what's going on. People internally have already made appeals with the higher ups to try and enlighten them on how the internet works in these sorts of things. Don't know if much will come from it, but it's being heard at least. So people on the inside are trying to wake up upper management to these outrage mobs. And that's good to hear. I replied, really great to hear. This is why I tried to push people to contact you all with support. I heard you had that employee doxxed yesterday. Really hope he doesn't get fired. They replied, nah, people don't get fired over things like this. You don't need to worry about that. We're a cool company. Don't worry. A bunch of us had a big old laugh about it in the office today. This is good. I then said, as you know, in case you're not familiar with me, I always protect my sources. They replied, I'm familiar, which is why you're the guy I emailed, not someone else. Well, I would say this is relatively decent news. At this point, they can't unapologize. Ideally, I would have rather they told this outrage mob to drink them, but they didn't do that. They issued an apology, which is annoying. But the next phase of concern was like, oh my God, are they going to fire this person over this? Are they going to completely cuck out? It doesn't appear that way. Now, if the mob whips up more today, well, I guess things can always change. But for right now, it looks like they did, I guess, the least amount of cucking possible publicly. I hope that they continue to see the support. And if you haven't contacted them, just tweet them. Tweet them at CD Projekt Red or at the Cyberpunk 2077 game. Let them know you don't care about this stuff. Because here's how what really goes down. A company might get a couple hundred interactions on their tweets in a day, because most of the time they're just tweeting out like, buy our shit, buy our shit, buy our shit, buy our shit, right? Then what happens is all of a sudden they get 5,000 mentions, or 1,000 mentions, 2,000 mentions, and maybe 50 emails. And some HR person starts freaking out about, oh my God, everyone's mad. And the rest of us who don't give a shit about it, we don't contact them in support, right? So they think, wow, everyone's mad. That's why when stuff like this comes up, we always have to rise up and tell the company that we support them. And again, it's not even about whether or not you thought the joke was funny. It's just them knowing that they are free to be themselves, just like all of us want to be. So hopefully that's some good news following up on the CD Projekt Red. I've got at least one, maybe two other videos today, so I'm looking forward to talking to you a couple times. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.